Hi, I'm Nate Bronner with the Virginia Cooperative Extension and the Master Gardener Program, and I'd like to welcome you to the Poquoson Learning Garden. The Poquoson Learning Garden is one of 2 learning gardens that we have in York County and the city of Poquoson, and it demonstrates ideas. It's our full sun learning garden, and it's full of ideas of techniques that we can share with you and show you how they work here, so you can choose which ones might work for you well at home and then take those ideas and run with them. One of the things that they show are the blooms that are present all throughout the year. In this case, in mid-fall, it shows you some of the late season blooms that are still producing that nectar and that honey that our pollinators require to help pour it up and make it through the dearth of winter. In this case, you have the Mexican sage in front of me, which is still being visited today by honeybees and carpenter bees as they build up their stores so they can make it through the winter. You have the sunflowers behind me. You have purple grape hyacinth beans, and you have a whole host of other plants that are still producing blooms. So if you're looking for that splash of color in your yard, come here and check out what's working for us right now. It might give you some ideas on what you'd like to plant next year for your garden. Let's take a little walk and I can show you some other parts of our garden. Any successful garden needs a home for beneficial insects. In this case, solitary native bees need a protected space to build a nest and lay their eggs. This is one example of how you could create something in your garden as a home for native bees in your area. Straw bale gardens are a neat technique to grow vegetables in straw bales, which will decompose and provide all of the heat and nutrients that your plants will need to make their full growing season a success. Here we have some bins that are set up to accommodate straw bales and keep things a little bit tidier, and you can see our winter season crops growing in them quite well right now. You can see as I back up here a bed that had been used for straw bale gardening and is now empty, and you can see the remnants there. The nice thing about this technique is that once you're done with the straw bales, you're left with compost that you can then use in other areas of your garden. No waste. Raised beds are an easy way for you to achieve success in your gardens, whether it's growing mints or herbs or vegetables or even flowers. You can see right here with these mints how well they're growing in these raised beds, and they don't spread out from there as easily, so it gives us an opportunity to keep them confined. You can control the soil in your raised beds, and you can make sure that it has all of the nutrients that they need for success. Whether it's the mints, or perhaps in the background you can have some pumpkins and some corn, or perhaps some vining plants like tomatoes or beans that are set up with a trellis here. Perhaps you're not going to use wood in your garden and you want to use cinder blocks, like these over here that we have for our strawberries. Or perhaps on the right hand side, the one that we're using for our winter veggies. And those will be growing all throughout the winter. There's lots of different ways that you can use raised beds in your garden, and we have lots of different techniques here at the Poquoson Learning Garden for you to try out at home. Get ideas. If you have limited mobility, it doesn't mean that you need to stop gardening. Maybe it just means that you need to try different techniques to make it easier for you to do it, such as bringing that garden soil up to your level rather than you bending down to the garden. Raised beds that are lifted up like this make it much easier for you to get into the soil and get your hands dirty. So whether you're in a wheelchair or you just don't find it as easy to kneel down as you used to, it makes it easy. Most of our raised beds in the Poquoson Learning Garden were built by students at New Horizons Academy. They can be built for anyone in the public as well. Don't be afraid to have a little bit of fun with your gardening. Have a little bit of artistic expression with it, and repurpose some things that are around your house that could make great garden beds, like this old wheelbarrow. Or perhaps you can rethink the idea of a garden bed, like this one. There's a lot to see here at the Poquoson Learning Garden and far too much to put into a short video. Whether it's the honeybees visiting the late season asters or the grass that's tufting out and blooming late in the season. The Learning Garden is located right behind the Poquoson Museum, right in central Poquoson, so it's very easy to find, and you can take a stroll around here or on the nature trails that are located behind it. If you have questions about things at the garden or want to learn more, there are mailboxes right at the entrance that have literature that you can pick up and take with you so you can study at home and come up with some ideas for your own garden. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. And thanks for joining me once again in the garden.